Hello there, and welcome to a little tutorial of how to set up a train station on the existing rail line at Unity Universe. So I'm going to try and make this short and snappy. So the way this works is chunk loaders don't really tend to work with trains at Unity Universe, so we use a system explained here. It looks a little bit complicated, but I'm going to break it down into separate bits. So essentially what happens is you have a train, and I'm going to use a creative train to explain, which is essentially linked to a load of different minecarts, comes through here. If a player is in it, it will wait at the station. Hold on, let's make a little block here. And this little block here, then it will carry on, or if it's empty, it'll go down here, pass into this cart dispenser, and then be passed back into this train dispenser. This train dispenser dispenses trains, and obviously they can convert with a button and stuff. Whoa, cool. So that's a basic outline of what you need. We need a way of dispensing a train, a way of returning that train, and a way of checking if a locomotive is occupied or not. Oh, and we need a way of holding carts. So 4 different things: holding, dispense, taking in, and detecting. So let's check the holding bit first, because that's kind of the easiest bit to explain. Oh, before I carry on, you need to use a crowbar. They're very useful. When you right click on different tracks, you can select different settings and stuff. Yeah, definitely use a crowbar. So this is a little outline of the train holding redstone, as I said there. Now how does this work? Well, this is a thing called a station track, which essentially holds a train. These little things here. It's a creative one, but you can also get Steam ones and stuff. So let's make a train first. So I can do this by shift right clicking on the train and on each cart. Link started, link created. I also move down when I shift click, so that's clever. It needs to be 3 carts long for that reason, as you can just see there. If you make it 2 carts long, this doesn't work. So on the 3rd cart, it activates a redstone signal that travels down here, is inverted, and then activates this rail. And this will go green in a sec, there we go. And that will allow the locomotive to carry on. You can use a crowbar to change how often it's activated. I'm going to use it for 15 minutes for 5 seconds. Why not? And then that'll turn it on and off and so forth. So while it's red, I'm going to set it to running. And you should see it moves off when it goes green. That's because it holds it. There we go. Amazing. Can't move anywhere, so it's just kind of stuck there. Now once it's not activated, what you'll see is, let's just remove this piece here, it'll just go red and it'll stay red. And what that means is, when a cart goes on here, it can't move at all. This is also a really handy way of detecting if a train arrives or if a normal cart arrives, because if a normal cart arrives, it will never move from this point. Okay, I hope that explains that. So that's the way you hold it. Now that's this part explained. Ta-da! Now let's explain how trains are dispensed. So a person wants to get on the train in this station. It's not really a station, isn't it? So they'll press a button, for example, and that will activate a train which will be dispensed from a train dispenser. Convenient. Cool. So what is this thing? Let's have a look. So I made a little pattern here. Basically you place things onto a pattern. I'll just describe here. It will copy that. And that's the train you wanted, kind of train you want to dispense. So you can make different patterns of different things. Have 2 trains if you want, which I don't. And then you need to add into the buffer all of the items you want to use. There we go. Now when a train comes out, it needs to be activated immediately, so we use a thing called a locomotive track. By default it's green, which is fine. You obviously need to power it. Let's give this a try. Ta-da! It spawned the wrong way, but you get the gist. So this will dispense a train. Being a little bit laggy. A little bit laggy, so it's kind of failed. Let's try that again just quickly. I want to kind of demonstrate this. Cool. course it gets rid of that. Okay, just bear with. I'm going to pause it for a second. Okay, and we're back again. Let's give it another attempt. Okay, it spawned the wrong way, but you get the gist. Then that spawns a train, which is kind of cool, isn't it? What you might need to do is, if it spawns the wrong way, you just obviously put it this side instead of that side. But it's the same thing, really. So yeah, we have a train, we can get in it. All the carts are already linked, which is so nice because it's so annoying when they're not linked. And because this has been spawned, I can now quite easily just explain the next bit. A little spot, it's just joined. Welcome. So we have a little thing here called a routing detector, which is incredibly helpful. Like, they've added it recently, and it's probably the best block you'll ever see in your life. We have a switch mode here as well. So this thing called a routing detector, when it detects something, it sends off a redstone signal, and what it detects is defined by a thing called a routing table, which is a book that you can put a set of conditions in. So the condition you want, which I've already put in here, is ridden equals false. You can write this in here, and this essentially checks if a minecart is occupied or not. So let's set it to ridden. And what you do is you place this book into the routing detector, as so. Ooh, it's making a noise. And then you lock it. So this will detect if a player is in here. If it is, it will carry on. If it isn't, it will go down here. So let's try that quickly. Actually, no. Actually, I won't try it yet because I want to explain another thing. So if it isn't occupied, it goes down here, and this is called a speed limiter track. It needs to be activated with redstone, as does everything else. Now, this is why the crowbar comes in so helpful. What you want to do is make sure that the train isn't travelling so fast, so in max settings like here, but it's actually travelling at about this kind of speed. Quite slow. Yeah. Come on. There we go. And then it will travel down here to things called control tracks. A lot of different tracks here, but it's all required to detect a track. You'll see what this does in a second, and I think this is the best way to do it, to get rid of this train. Once it falls into here, into the cart dispenser, it will go down here into there. Obviously I haven't used the redstone engine, so it's not going to do that, but let's just see what happens, okay? Whoop. Dun, dun, dun. I need to activate this holding rail. Let's grab a redstone torch. Amazing. So let's just activate this. This should turn on in a sec. There we go. Now what happens is this will go down here. A little bit laggy, but it'll go down. It'll be destroyed, and then it will return back and be destroyed again. Ooh, there we go. So you see the minecarts going back to there. There we go. Ta-da! It's quite cool actually. I thought of it. I don't think there's a system like this, but I think it is the best way to get rid of a train, because you can only get rid of individual carts. And then obviously if I had a redstone engine whatever here, it will go down here into this train dispenser, and then you can activate it again. So it essentially recycles stuff, and that'll be really helpful because I'm only going to give you a certain amount of trains, of these creative trains, that you can use. So that's it really, that's how to set it up. If you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. I'm going to make a warp to here that will be called warp locomotive. So if you just do /warp locomotive, I'll probably have that set up. Now there's three other things I want to mention. First thing, when you're making a station, obviously don't connect it initially because there's a few things we need to do. What we'll do is we'll set a destination, so you need to make sure you know what your station is called and tell us exactly what you want it to be called, and then we'll set a destination. We'll use this routing detector to make sure the locomotive goes to your station and your station only. Another thing is, when you're connecting, can you make sure you connect to the nearest station? If this is spawn, then obviously do that. But yeah, that's about it. There weren't 3 things actually, there's only 2, so there you go. Oh no, tell you what, third thing, I mentioned this briefly before, but you'll be given a creative locomotive called a per-term locomotive. This will be locked, you can't access it, deliberately so you can't break it, and obviously use creative locomotives. So this is what I do. Ta-da! But people will still be able to place a ticket in it, which is vital. And you can't access this, you won't be able to, but you will be able to select if so you can't access it, but you will be able to select the speed it goes at using a speed limiter rail, which is this thing here. So you can select if you want to go fast, if you want to stop it and stuff. Cool. Actually, there's a 4th thing before I'm done. The last thing is, when you're making a train, can you please tell us how long you want your trains to be, depending on how long the station is. So this one suits about 4, it's the 4th one. It should be between 3 and 6, any longer than 6 minecarts gets a bit excessive, and it won't work with the spawn station. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'm going to go back to spawn and chill. Thank you for watching. Ta-da! Adios.